Right, we're going on a road trip. Right, we're going on a road trip today, so this is going to be the first big test of the Leaf and its fast charging capability. So we're going to go to Reading, which is about 140 miles away. Now, the car isn't fully charged, it's got 125 miles of range. We will obviously have to stop and charge on the way and on the way back. I'm thinking that I'll probably aim to get to South Mims services and pick up an Ecotricity charger there, and then on to Reading, and then we'll pick something up on the way back as well. So this is the first test of the Nissan Leaf. I'm going to be interested as to how this goes. I think that this is something that we just need to see how it goes, because this is the main car and these kinds of journeys will be unavoidable. So I thought this would be a good test of the range on the car. So let's get on the road. Let's see how it's going to go. Alright, here goes nothing. I think we'll be fully in eco mode today. So this is the first long journey that I'll have done in the Leaf, and it's a much longer journey than we've ever done in the Zoe. The reason obviously that we don't take the Zoe on very long journeys was because at the time we had a diesel car, and the charge rate on the Zoe was only 22 kilowatts at the fastest charge points. So it was only 22 kilowatts at its best. It couldn't do any more than that. So this car can do 40 odd kilowatts, which should make charging a lot quicker, which means I won't have to wait around for very long. And so I'm more comfortable driving it to its maximum range. That said, because it is the first time that I've driven it at its maximum range, I'm still not entirely comfortable, so we're going to have to see how it goes. So the other thing, of course, is that the maximum range is just whatever the guessometer decides to tell you. So the challenge is, because it's a different car, and I don't know how optimistic the GOM is, it's also going to be a challenge to understand how accurate that is. So we've got 127 miles on the GOM at the moment, and that's easily enough to get us to South Mims services. Now when we get to South Mims services, as long as that is accurate, then we'll take a view as to whether we charge there or whether I just get a drink and carry on, because you don't really want to charge it too early on in the journey, otherwise it'll just take longer to do the journey. So we could move on and go somewhere else. I've had this car for a couple of weeks now, and I'm slowly getting used to all the different features. Like I say, I don't drive the car that often, which is why the vehicle to grid was so appealing. It's different. The way that it implements certain things is different. I went round for the first drive, and I thought it was pretty slow and pretty sluggish and very comfortable and lazy. Then I realised I had it in eco mode, which I should have done, because there's a great big green eco staring at me saying it's in eco mode. So I don't know how I missed that, but yeah, when you take it out of eco mode, yeah, it's pretty quick. But the reason that I didn't really realise that I had it in eco mode is it lets you go faster. In the Renault Zoe, if you have it in eco mode, it limits your top speed, whereas in the Leaf it doesn't seem to do that. So it's not as obvious that you're in eco mode, apart from the vastly reduced performance. But because I wasn't comparing it to anything, because that's just what I thought it did, I didn't notice. So that was a pleasant surprise to feel it is very peppy, actually. It's a big car. It feels bigger than the Zoe. It doesn't feel as agile. It doesn't feel as nimble. It feels very comfortable though, so on long journeys it's a very comfortable car. This seat is super comfortable, and the heated seats make that even better. So I think one of the things about this car that I'm going to get on with is that, unlike the Zoe, which was a bit terrier-like, it was always yapping at your heels, wanting to go a bit quicker. This car brings out the kind of more considered gentleman in you, and so it might mean that I get a bit more range out of it, just for that reason alone. You can really feel the eco mode limiting the acceleration. It's not limiting the top speed, but it's limiting the speed at which you get there. And it's keeping you in that eco band. There's a really nice display in this, actually, very similar to the Zoe, actually, showing you the eco. A police car. Now I've also got this car in B mode. Now the Zoe didn't have B mode. All the Zoe had was drive and eco. So B mode really just puts more regen into the system, which is okay. I think I'll keep it in B mode because I actually quite like the feeling of like engine braking. It's the same kind of feeling. That's the collision avoidance beeping at me for getting too close to the car in front. So one of the things I'm not sure about in this car right now is the heating and the air conditioning. It's separate. So you have a separate button for heat and a separate button for air conditioning, i.e. cooling and dehumidifying. So that's a bit weird. It's been a long time since I've been in a car where those two things are separate. So I'm not sure if that's because this car doesn't have a heat pump for the air conditioning, or whether it's just that they want you to conserve energy by not using the heater. So that's a bit of a strange one. I thought the n-connectors were okay, and it was only the base model that had the old school heater. So we'll see what that does to the range. It is a bit chilly today. It's only 9 degrees out there, so I have got the heater on a little bit. I haven't got the heated seats on. They're quite warm already. It's been in the sun, but we'll see how that goes. But that's one thing I really don't like. I just like to be able to set the temperature and you know, and away you go, which you can do in the Zoe, and that's a much cheaper car. The comedy of it is that this car has got so many other features. It has got radar guided cruise control. It's got cameras all over the place. It's got, so why couldn't they have just done that? So it seems like a bit of a miss there, but never mind. We shall continue. So already this journey is not going to plan. Just tried to go down the A12 towards London, and the road is closed, and as I was looking down the closed road, there is an air ambulance there. So that's not good. Somebody's having a far worse day than I am. So we'll see. We'll just have to have a little think about which way we're going to go. The accident's obviously very close, so we can probably just cut onto the A12 a little bit further down. So we're just going to have to do a bit of a detour, and then we'll get there. Here we are, back on an empty A12, and a very, very, very big tailback on the other side as people try to come off. Yikes. Well, I guess there's no rushing back then. I don't really want to be sat in that. We've got 101 miles left, and it is saying how many miles left have we got to go. Oh, that's interesting. It doesn't. Ah, there we go. Yeah, it's just warning me about these speed cameras. So 70 miles, an hour and 10 minutes. So 70 miles is probably okay, actually. That's kind of what we want to be left with in the because we'll have only 30 odd miles left. So we could give it a good old charge there, and then carry on to Reading, and then mosey on back. Now I'm only doing about 65 miles an hour, and the Eco seems quite happy with that. I'm in the Eco envelope. It feels very much like I'm compromising here in terms of driving style and enjoyment, but this is what the experiment was, is about how well can this car cope with these longer journeys.
About 300 yards, speed camera.
Yes, they're average speed cameras.
What do you want to say?
I'm loving this Apple CarPlay.
Your message to Michelle says, I'm loving this Apple CarPlay. Ready to send it?
Send it.
Okay, it's sent.
How cool is that? So I'm loving this Apple CarPlay integration. It's great. I've got a few icons down the side of the screen here: messages, music, and the sat nav. And then everything else, you know, I can talk to it and all of that jazz. You can tell I sent a message to my wife telling her about the accident and that I've gone round it and all that. It even tells you that they've sent an emoji back. It reads out the message that they sent you, if they sent you a message. It's really, really good. If the new Zoe's got CarPlay in it as well, then which it has, then that's a really good thing. I think people are really going to enjoy that. Okay, so a quick update. We are 6 miles away from the M25. We've got 31 miles left to our charging stop, and we've got 47 miles left on the GOM. So far so good. That should be a low enough state of charge for us to get a good rate of charge. Traffic's been fairly light. The A12 is absolutely knackered though. The road is falling to pieces. But otherwise, it's so far so good. I've been playing around with the toys in here. The cruise control distance thing is very good. The lane departure warning system, I could live without that. The CarPlay, as I've said before, is excellent. So slowly getting used to all of the different buttons and things that we've got going on in here. So next stop, M25, then on to South Mims. Here we go, we're on the M25. 35 miles left on the GOM, 23% of battery remaining, and we have got 24 miles to go. My driving style in this car is very different. I'm not really driving it, it's doing what it wants. I've got it on cruise control. It's got a distance keeping cruise control, so if the car in front's doing a slower speed, then you'll set your cruise control to it, it'll just slow down. And I've just been kind of going with the flow. Normally I'm not like that. Normally I'm quite a progressive driver who wants to make progress. But I think if I did that in this car, I'd really suffer with the range. This isn't doing too badly, considering I didn't start off with a full charge. We're going to make it to South Mims with probably 10 miles to spare exactly, and that's great, because what it will mean is that the battery will be empty enough to to charge quite quickly. I don't know where I'm going to charge on the way back, mind. I haven't really looked into it. I haven't really planned it, apart from knowing there's some charge points at South Mims. Hopefully they're going to be free. It is quiet today. I like to not vary my driving style. I don't really want to have to adapt my style to the car. The car should just have enough range and performance to do what I normally do. This car definitely doesn't. I think I would have liked the E Plus version of this car better, because it's the 62 kilowatt hour battery, but they just weren't available on this trial at the time, so we are where we are. What it does mean though is it really throws into question what we do with the second car, the Zoe, because both the cars have got the same range, but the new Zoe is out. People are getting some cracking deals on that new Zoe. They're getting some cracking values for their old Zoes because they're still in demand. So we probably will sell that car. I'm not sure whether we will get another Zoe though, or we'll try and go for something with a slightly bigger battery, so that this one becomes the kind of shorter range EV in the family, and we get another one which has got a slightly bigger battery. But yeah, not sure. We shall see. We're going to make it to the services, but it's all starting to warn me that I really should think about charging it, so that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, thinking about the charge, I have still got to go on a little way to get to Reading from South Mims, so what I'm probably going to do is actually charge only enough to get there and back, and I'm then probably going to charge again at South Mims, because I can get to South Mims from my house, so it kind of makes sense to use a charger that I know will work. Services. I must say, even in eco mode you can still kick it down, which is great, and you don't really notice. I mean, we've done this whole journey in eco. Oh no, we haven't. I had the eco off. So we did the whole M25 without eco on. Never mind. Well, there's the Tesla chargers. And we're looking for, unfortunately, not the Tesla chargers, because we're poor. We're the poor electric people. There we go, electric highway. Oh, there you go, madam. There you go. It was a level crossing. It was a pedestrian crossing once, until all the paint got rubbed off. And there's a BMW i3, and one is free. And in we go. Here we go, right. Time to give it a charge, and time to charge me as well. I could do with something. Let's see how we get on with CHAdeMO. Right, so there we are. We've just plugged it in and the charge point is working fine. We're pushing 38 kilowatts into the car. It's going to take 35 minutes to get to 75%. We can move the menu. Oh, wrong one. We can move the menu down. You can see the battery temperature. You can see the capacity, and then we can see the range. So range is climbing. So 35 minutes, and then we should be good to go. So 35 minutes and we should be good to go. I need to stretch my legs. I don't know if there's going to be any coffee places open, but if there is, I might partake in a coffee. I've got some drink and some food here anyway, just in case. So yeah, and I'll have a quick look and see what it's going to take for us to get to Reading and back. But 34 minutes to get up to 75%, 17 minutes to get to 50%. You know, that's not going to take very long at all, and we can always drop back in here on the way back, because we know the charge point works. And this is probably really the only complaint I have about owning an electric vehicle. It's just the quality of the infrastructure. That's why we're really comfortable actually owning a car and using our house as our base, and not really going very far from our house, because we know our charge point works and we know we have the range in the car. Going on these longer journeys, you've got to rely on somebody else's infrastructure. Right, I've been relaxing and reading the news and working out a few things whilst we've been charging here. So the charging rate's just dropping off now. So we've got 120 miles back on the GOM. Some quick GOM statistics for you. So the guessometing in this thing is not not great. So the distance between my house and South Mims is 89 miles. So we started off the journey with about 127 miles. We did 89 and we had 10 left in the tank. So the GOM we're a little bit over optimistic on the range, I think. Now obviously a lot of the driving we've been doing has been on main roads, although I have been pretty slow. I have been going to 65, 70, nothing over 70 really. So we've got another 40, 50 miles to go. So I'm confident that we're going to be able to get back here just if we leave with about the same amount of charge on. If I don't think we've got enough in the tank, there's plenty of services at Reading where we can pick a charge up anyway, so that's not too bad. I'm not going to wait around here for much longer though, because we're now dropping off. We were at 41 kilowatts. The charging speed was incredible, up to the 75% line. We really haven't been here that long at all, and we're up to 75%. We're still racking up 26 kilowatts, but obviously as the batteries get fuller, you can't put as much charge in them, especially if it's not being cooled, which of course we all know these Nissans are very bad at. And I can't help thinking that if they just changed the battery technology in this car, it would be a very popular car, or even more popular car. There would be no bad things about it, because everything else is pretty decent. So that's it. We're gonna crack on now with the journey, and let's see if we can get back here, or whether we are going to have to abort to another charge point in Reading. We've got 126 miles now on the GOM, so I think we will give it a couple more minutes and then we'll be on the way. Okay, off we go again. And there's someone in a Tesla who can afford a Tesla. I'd like a Tesla. Smug mode. He's got smug mode. Oh, he's painting his badge red. Model S. Model S. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Model S. Wouldn't have any problems then. Yeah, I think I'm in the wrong lane. So I don't like the lane departure system. I went through some roadworks where they put some of those temporary fluorescent plastic lane markers on the road, and it seemed to get very confused, and I don't know if you've ever used one of these lane departure systems, but as well as vibrating the steering wheel, it actually puts a little bit of steering input into it, and at the time there was a huge truck right to my side, and it tried to steer me into the truck. Now it's not enough to you know, it's not strong enough to actually affect the car's direction by too much, but it was a little bit disconcerting, because when I was reading the manual on the lane departure system, it said that it would only work if it had clear markers on the lanes. So clearly it can pick up those fluorescent things as well as the white lines. I would prefer if it was only programmed to pick up white lines rather than anything with a consistent pattern. But yeah, there you go. So I'm not a fan of that particular system. This is kind of proving to me that this EV is not going to be suitable for long distance driving, you know, regular long distance driving, because, you know, we did what, 89 miles, and we had to charge. You know, that you know, okay, it wasn't fully charged, so let's say it can do a bit more than that, but still not great, not the sort of advertised mileage. You know, yeah, actually, you know, let's be fair to it. We'll fully charge it and take it somewhere at some point. But, you know, I think the point still stands that a car with a 40 kilowatt battery, if you're looking to do long range in it regularly, then it's not probably for you. Now, for me, this is an exceptional journey. I probably do this once or twice a year, and actually, this specific journey I would not do in a petrol or diesel car anyway, because what I'm actually doing is I'm going to pick something up which I won on eBay. Now, this is something that was very, very cheap. It was literally only a few pounds, but because I can drive in an electric car and go and pick it up, I don't have to worry about the cost of fuel. So if I'd have done this journey in a petrol car, I would have wanged it down the motorway, you know, progressively, and got there in no time at all, picked it up and come back. But I probably would have burnt through 60-70 pounds worth of petrol or diesel, so it wouldn't have been worth it really. So, you know, at the end of the day, this journey is going to probably only cost £2 or £3, maybe £4. I put 27 kilowatts in it last night at home, and it cost £1.30. The charging, the Ecotricity charger will be a little bit more expensive. It'll be about 30p per kilowatt hour in there. But still, you know, we are not going to break 10 quid during this journey. So that's really, you know, apart from obviously I'm wasting a whole load of time, but you know, that's you know, it's content for the channel as well. It's all kinds of other stuff. So it's a nice little experiment. There's something in it for me at the end of it, but you know, it really isn't something I'd do in a petrol car at all, because it would just I just wouldn't want to spend the money on petrol. I could just win something on eBay and, you know, pay 10 times the price for it, because it wouldn't make sense to go and pick it up. But it's looking good on the mileage. I've got because it's telling me there's another speed trap. I've got 14 miles to go, and we've got 95 on the GOM. This 50 speed limit is helping, obviously, because we're not going very fast. The cruise control in this is great, and the distance, it's got this distance button. That's really good. I'm really liking that. Right, okay, so one thing about the distance keeping feature is you forget that the distance keeping feature is on, and therefore you end up going at the speed of the car in front. So I was kind of thinking this was feeling really slow even for a 50, but actually the car in front was doing 40, and I just kind of slowed up a bit, and because it's so progressive and it detects the car from such a long distance away, you don't really notice. And what I've found is because half of this dash is digital and half of this dash is analog, I am naturally ignoring the analog speedo. I'm just looking at the power consumption and my cruise control setting, and it says on the cruise control 50 miles an hour, so that's what you think you're doing, but you're not. You're doing up to that, and if you get in front of if there's a slower car in front, it will slow you down to the speed of the car in front, and it will do it very progressively. So that's a little bit of learning there. Nothing major. I just would have preferred the dash to be in completely digital. I don't understand why they did a half and half deal here. It is, yeah, it's a bit, I guess it's a bit dated maybe, I don't know. I haven't paid the Leafs much attention really, so I don't know if this is how they've always been or whether this is an improvement, but yeah, like the feature, just wish the speed, I just wish my brain would pay the digital and analog parts the same amount of attention, but I've sort of naturally blocked that one out of my mind. Hey ho. 5 miles and till we have to do something, and then it's 8 miles to our destination, so we are nearly there. We've got 93 miles left on the GOM. This 50 mile an hour zone is going on forever. He wasn't doing 50 miles an hour though, so maybe he knows something I don't. Anyway, we'll check in soon. That's it. I have just collected what I have come here for. It's taken about 2 seconds to get that. So now we can go home. So we're on 50%. We've got 81 miles to go. So I think what we'll do is we'll program back in South Mims services, 48 miles, and we've got 81 miles. So I think we'll probably aim for that. Charge there. We know the charger works. Oh, hello. Yeah, I think we'll aim for that because we know the charger works, so I'm sure I could get somewhere else, but that's a charger I know, so that's where we're going to go. There's also some food there, so we shall go and see. Right, so let us engage reverse, handbrake, which is a foot brake. I haven't mentioned that yet, have I? I haven't mentioned that the handbrake is actually a foot brake. The guy who delivered the car said, oh yeah, about the handbrake, it's actually done with your feet like a Mercedes. And I've never driven a Mercedes with that foot brake, which you know, I've never really driven many Mercedes actually, apart from one which was completely falling to bits. Which was a CLK. Rubbish car that was. So there we go. Right, we shall get back on the road, and it's all 50, basically 50 all the way along the M4, which was soul destroying, but it helped the range out, I think, so that's one thing. So we probably won overall, because I guess you've got to now factor in the charge time as opposed to your speed. You can go really fast, but you have to charge for 40 minutes. It probably makes more sense just to go slowly, which is not my cup of tea. I'm not... This car is doing it, but it's not necessarily doing it the way I'd like it to. So yeah, that's one thing. Although, whoa, when you take it out of eco mode, wheel spin. But the problem is you can't take it out of eco mode, because then you really will need to charge it all the time. Right, anyway, that's that. I don't know what went wrong with my GoPro there, but we're back at South Mims. So we've got 10 miles left on the GOM, which is perfect. And let's get it on charge. That's what we need to do now, and I'm hungry, so I need to get something to eat too. So yeah, pretty good drive back, and we've got we've got perfect amount now. The only thing is the battery is hotter than it was when we got here first, so it'd be really interesting to see if this thing rapid gates, because I don't know if they fixed this on this car. I know I saw Bjorn's video and it just cooks it, but I don't know. We'll see if we get the same rate of charge at this time round as we did last time round, because we're parked at the same charger, so it should be a fair test. Right. Right, so I've just had something to eat, and we've been here about 38 minutes according to the charger, or that's how long we've been charging. Excuse me, burger. Yeah, and it's definitely rapid gating. It's only drawing 30 kilowatts this time round, whereas it was doing 40. It was doing 40 kilowatts by now. It didn't go straight to 40, but it went up pretty quickly. So yeah, it definitely looks like it's rapid gate material, this one. If I look at the temperature, or the battery temperature, it's into the red. It's just into the red now. So yeah, that battery is getting hot. So there you go, Nissan Leafs are a bit shit, which is sad, if anything. You know, 10 kilowatts. Okay, so it's 10 kilowatts off its maximum, but that's equating to me being here another 20 minutes to get to the same level of charge, maybe a bit longer. So it makes quite a big difference. I've not quite got enough miles to get home at the moment. I'm on 61% and it's saying 88 miles, but we all know that's not going to happen. So yeah, it's really disappointing that a car manufacturer could you know, this is such a PR disaster for them. It really is. Why would you buy a Leaf? I mean, I'm so glad I haven't bought this car, because I'd be pretty annoyed. Now, okay, I know this isn't something I'll do every day, and actually around town and within its range, if you don't do any kind of mileage like this, long journeys, and this is not that long a journey really. I would not like to take this car to Scotland or Cornwall, because you know you get so far and then it's just gonna take forever to get there. It's really not a great advertisement for electric vehicles. They can be so much better than this. I was really impressed actually with the first charge. It just shot up to 50%. It was so quick. But this is noticeably slower, and the battery is, you know, it's in the first red bar in the temperature, which is just crazy because it's 5 degrees outside, and it could easily blow the air. I mean, you know, the Zoe's battery's air cooled. I think if you have a Leaf, you just maybe need to plan 3-course meals at your charging destination, so you don't notice. But yeah, I mean, I knew this was probably going to be part of the experience. So I'm not surprised. But at the same time, I had thought that Nissan had changed the software so that it just basically cooked the battery to death, instead of inconveniencing you. Maybe it is still cooking the battery to death. I mean, it's still hot. So yeah, again, yeah, I mean, this car's not going to get rapid charged much, so But it's the saddest thing about this is that the rest of the car is alright. It's good. I mean, the 40 kilowatt battery isn't big enough for us. That's you know, for the long journeys. It's big enough for us for most of the time, but for journeys like this, I mean, I don't mind this journey because it's just me and I can take as long as I like. But with the kids and the wife and stuff, the kids would get very, very bored if we had to spend extended periods of time on the journey charging the car up. So yeah, because you can't guarantee the weather. So spending a couple of hours at a service station, if you wanted to get it to maximum charge, would be a real pain. So yeah, there you go. RAPIDGATE is alive and well. It'd be interesting to see if the charge starts to dip off now, because I noticed in the you know, as the battery gets full, it does dip off. So it started to dip off. It started to dip off at about 75%. So it's just coming up to that now. Just take some. And it's never moved above 30, not even to 31. So you can see now it's gone into the red now. So we've got the red bar on the battery. This is so annoying as someone who's, you know, a bit of an engineer at heart, because this is such an easy fix. You know, it really is. Do not buy one of these cars if you're going to go any further than its range, because yeah, this is pretty terrible. I mean, we're now only doing 8 more kilowatts an hour than the Zoe would, and that will do that all day long. So, oh, and it stopped charging, probably because we've been here for 50 minutes. Charge session finished. Right, okay. Well, I want to give it a bit more than that, so I'm going to have to start a new charge session. Right, well, that was the charge session coming to an end. I've been here so long, I've been over the 50 minutes. And I've only got 108 miles on the GOM. Which, bearing in mind I had 127 miles on the GOM when I left home, I don't think I'm going to make it home on that, so I need to stay here a little bit longer. So I've been here 50 minutes already, compared to 40 minutes the last time, and it reckons it needs 5 more minutes to get to 75%. Yeah, this is rubbish. This is utter rubbish. Anyway, I'll check my WhatsApp messages while it's doing that, while it's thinking about it. I've had enough waiting around. Let's go and see how far we get before we run out of juice. We've got 112 miles on the GOM. I started off with 127 to get here, and I had 10 left. But I did have a bit of a detour round the countryside because of the accident. So we shall be cutting it fine, I think. Plus we'll be running the headlights a little bit, so there is ever such a slight chance that I will need to stop somewhere closer to home. 87 miles to go. Okay, let's stop this charge. Right, there's been a development. We've lost somehow we've lost 11 miles of range on the way up the A12. So we started off having about 10 miles of range in our favour. So I was going to come home with about 9 or 10 miles of range left in the battery. Now it looks like we are going to end up with -1. So that could be interesting. So that RAPIDGate's really hurt us, because it took over 50 minutes to get nowhere near the level of charge that we should have got in that time. So I left a little bit early because I was just fed up of waiting, basically. So now we're in this situation where hopefully we'll get back. I have slowed down a bit now, but it is uphill a bit at the moment. So hopefully it'll work its way out. But we've got 28 miles of range left, and we have 29 miles to go. So not ideal. And the GOM is obviously very inaccurate, because we had well over 100 miles of range when we set off anyway, and we are not doing 100 miles, we're doing about 89 miles. So I think we had 111 miles in the 115, kind of that sort of order. Now when I set off from home I had 127, so we munched through 117 miles of range to do 89 that way. So I'm not surprised that we're cutting it fine. But what I am surprised of is that there's been this adjustment as we've been driving, where we've lost a bit of range. So that's a real. This car on a long drive is a bit. That's all I've got to say about it, really. I'm not impressed. From one of the manufacturers that really started it all, this is terrible. Really terrible. So yeah, this video ain't sponsored by Nissan, that's for sure. God. Yeah, now we've got 28 miles left and we've got 26 miles of range. Well, let's see what happens when we get to Cable St Mary. There's a charge point at Cable St Mary, so we'll take a call on whether we have to stop in at that garage and have a very, very quick charge. And it will only be a 5-minute pit stop, but still 5 minutes on top of 50, which was not 50, it was longer than that because I charged it again after that. Yeah, not great, not good enough. Right, we'll check back soon. It looks like we're going to make it back. A little bit closer than I would have liked. I would have liked to have not had that RAPIDGATE issue on the second charge. So, and this is really, you know, that's the thing. It's really annoying because the rest of this car is actually really good. It's got so many features. It's got so much that the Zoe doesn't have. Why couldn't they have invested a little bit more money in the bloody battery? Because that's all anyone really cares about. How quickly does it charge? And the answer to that in this vehicle's case is fast once and then not very. And that second session at the second stop where I had to plug it back in again, that started charging at 15 kilowatts. So it was really hot then. I'm gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked, I really am. Anyway, that's enough of me complaining. Right, we've got 9.5 miles to go, we've got 13 miles in the battery, so we're just going over the bridge now. Not that you'll see it because it's pitch black. Ka-chunk, there we go. So we're going to make it home. That's great, I can speed up a bit because going at 50 miles an hour was getting slightly boring. So we'll pick up the speed a little bit. This is the other thing. So the big problem with electric cars, to everyone's mind, is range and the battery. How long does it take to charge, as I've said? The really crazy thing is that this electric motor is really powerful, and it's superb fun on the dual carriageways. It's great, but when you're doing a distance drive, you daren't use it. You just daren't, because as soon as you really take it out of eco mode, and your GOM might as well just be zero. You know, it just throws its arms in the air and says, "I have no idea. I've got no idea what it's going to be." So, yeah, really disappointing that, because these electric motors are fantastic. So when you know how far you've got to go and you know you're well within your range, these cars are brilliant, because you're just hooning it around, and it's costing very little to do it as well. I think, you know, cars with 250 miles of range are really the ones we should be looking at next, I think, because this is too short, which means we've got this car for 2 years because we're doing the vehicle to grid trial. This car is going to be a much better power wall than it is a long range car, so that's okay. But the Zoe, instead of getting the new Zoe, we might have to get something else, something a bit longer range. Now I'm holding out for a bit, because I'm hoping that my company that I work for is going to do the like a salary sacrifice scheme on electric vehicles, because they got the 40% you know, benefit in kind deal. It's all very tax efficient to buy an electric car if they do the scheme. So I'm hoping that they do that, but they haven't announced anything yet. And then we can get a much bigger car and much better car than we could otherwise afford. So it would be a bit of a no-brainer, but I don't want to commit myself to anything else yet until I know about that. So so there we go. Right, let's get back to it. Right, well, we've only got a few miles left, so I can take it out of eco mode now. Woo! Very low.
Nearest charging station.
Yes, it's my house. Very low battery charge. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Now it's gone to nothing. So the battery charge has gone from 8 miles to nothing. Right, well, we're 4 miles away from my house, so hopefully we'll get there. Otherwise this could be all very embarrassing. I'll turn the music down. Wow, so it's now gone to nothing left. So it went from 7 miles left to just nothing, and it's just given me an audible warning to say very low battery charge. So we're going to take a shortcut home, just to shorten the journey a little bit. Ba 3%. Right, 3.3 miles to go, but we're going to go a different way. Going to go this way instead.
Yes?
Text Michelle.
What do you want to say?
No miles left, 3% on the battery.
Your message to Michelle: there's no miles left, 3% on the battery. Ready to send it?
Send it.
Okay, it's sent. Michelle sent a see no evil monkey emoji and a screaming in fear emoji. Would you like to reply?
No.
Okay.
So we're very close to home now, and we've got 2% charge. See if we're going to make it. And we're 1 mile to go. We're nearly there. 0.9 of a mile, and we've got 2%. So I think we'll make it. Unless this car's got any more tricks up its sleeve. And here we are, home at last. See, it's got all the cameras and everything. Cameras, reverse, front, back. Look, I can see the whole top of the car. Look, cameras, cameras, cameras. Why can't you put a bloody battery in that works properly? All this goddamn technology, and the only bit of tech you really want, it's not bloody there. Parked. 2% left. Woo! Well, that was quite fun. Bit tense at the end. Drama, more drama. So this is really annoying, boys and girls. This car is afflicted by a problem that shouldn't be there. The innovation is all in the power electronics, the electric motors, the batteries. All of the stuff that I'm looking at could be on any other car. It makes it a good car, but what they need to be focusing on is what lurks beneath. And it just isn't there on this car. And that's a real shame. Because if it was there, I think people wouldn't just like this car, they'd be raving about it. And the 62 kilowatt one, well, I mean, that would be amazing. And I think they have done something with the RAPIDGATE on that. I don't know if this car can be tweaked to ignore the RAPIDGATE, but that would probably be at the detriment to the battery. But I really don't care about that because it's not my car. I'm just looking after it for a while. Let's be honest, right? For 98% of the time that we own this car, long journeys are not a thing. But for the 2% of times, I don't think we can use this car for long journeys. Not unless we do you know, a couple of 100 miles, one charge, stay somewhere overnight, let the battery cool and carry on. But the range isn't that long, it's not long enough. So yeah, that's going to be, we're going to have to come up with a new plan. I think we're going to need a new plan. Anyway, while we think about that new plan, I hope that was entertaining for you. Here we are, 0 miles, 2% charge. It's 9:30, so I'm going to go and get something to drink and chill out for a bit. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Obviously there's a lot more coming around this car's vehicle to grid. Yeah, stay tuned for more of that. We haven't got the charge point fitted or anything like that yet. Still waiting on that. But yeah, hopefully that's entertained you. Hopefully it's informed you a little bit about this RAPIDGATE thing. It is still a thing, at least on this car anyway. So like, share, subscribe if you want to. No pressure. I really don't mind. You know, if you find it useful, then stick around, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.